That's good.
So
That's good. You're resilient.
I'm resilient.
We're resilient, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you learned a valuable lesson then.
And then my neighbor, in the following year, he's up on a tree. He's like 20 feet high. And he's with a saw or chain, I don't remember. And I told him my story. And he looked at me like,
Yeah. Not going to happen to me.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It didn't, thank God.
But hopefully you did a meal train for him, right? And you dropped off that lasagna and said,
Yeah.
remember what I told you?
Yeah, no, it was, that hurt. Oh, God, it hurt. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think going up on ladders is not something cleaning my own gutters, those types of things. It's sort of like the risk reward on it has gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? That's one I'll outsource. I do my own landscaping. I do a lot of things around the house. I don't outsource everything, but getting up on a ladder, I've got a high roof.
I came home from the hospital. Both apple trees were gone. My wife had somebody come in and calm down.
He's like, you know what? I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Well,
So anyway. So, they call you Hinkle.
they do.
Yeah. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? How are you involved in the Ron Foley Foundation, Run for the Roses?
Yeah, so I've actually I've been part of it since the beginning. So I'm actually married to Kate. Kate is Barbara's daughter, only daughter. We got married in 2007. So the first Ron's Run was 2005, I believe, if my memory serves me correct. And the first Ron's Run was a Kentucky Derby event in Barbara's backyard. It was small, a lot of family, a few friends, and it's grown obviously considerably since
amazing.
then. We've been through several venues up until now, but it's been a very rewarding activity to be part of, right? And not because I've been a huge driver, right? I mean, Barbara has been the beating heart of this organization since the beginning, but it's been fun to play a variety of roles over the years, mostly labor. A lot of carrying things, hauling things, running out in the truck last minute, building things at night, doing PowerPoints, whatever the job called for. We all rallied around Barbara to help grow this. Ron was an important person in all of our lives, and that's always kind of been the focus, right? Is his memory, and then translating his memory into how we can help others that have gone through similar circumstances. So it's been a fun journey thus far.
Yeah. Barb's a sweetheart. I've known her for a little while, and it's amazing to see this event, how it's grown.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know her when it was in her backyard, but there's another place up the road where it was, and then they came here, and this is just absolutely incredible.
Simsbury, Foley Farm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Or Foley Farm, rather.
Foley Farm. Yeah. So you knew Ron?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually had the privilege of knowing Ron for, I'm trying to think exact dates here, but probably 2 or 3 years prior to the diagnosis, and then ultimately, his passing away in 2005. And, given that, history transpired the way that it did, and Kate and I got married, and I became part of the family, having that connection has been incredible, right? Because, he still is a beacon, and a lot of great memories that that we still share together. And so knowing him and having that personal relationship has been meaningful for me.
And what a tribute, I mean, Barb does, not just every year at this time, but all year round. It's not only in helping other people that are, and that's not just pancreatic cancer too. I think it's just the awareness of cancer, period.
Absolutely.
And everybody's suffering, and she does that all year round. And she's, you wouldn't even think that she runs an organization like this. You would never, but because she's amazing.
Yeah, and she's always thinking about it, always noodling. No matter where she is, she'll see something, whether it's, whether it's decor, right, for the setting, or maybe it's an auction item. She's always noodling. It's always top of mind. In a lot of ways, it's sort of become part of who she is and her identity, and I think that's really cool.
What was Ron like? I don't know too much. I've never met him. I've heard a couple of stories here and there, but I don't really know. How did you know him? What's your memory of?
Yeah, so my memory of Ron, big, he is a very quiet guy. But if you were in his inner circle, right, he was big personality. He was very devoted to his family. Loved to fish, loved to have a good time. loved to joke around. He was a driving force at a lot of the social events in their family, and very successful businessman as well. And so, there was definitely, part of our relationship, which was, me asking questions. I was starting my career, right? And I think at the time when he and I first met, I actually didn't have a job, right? Here I am dating his daughter, no job.
That went over well.
And yeah, exactly. But I was grinding it out, and he had said to me, he gave me some ultimatum of, hey, if you don't have a job in 90 days, right, this relationship's not going to go any further. And he always liked to say that I pulled it out on, whatever it was, the 49th day, right? And 50 was the mark. So, but he, like I said, I still recite things that he told me about business. He was different because he was from a different era where he showed up at Travelers out of college and, started, the mailroom or wherever, and worked his way up to CFO of the company, and, took the company through, some big acquisitions, and ultimately was at the helm when they became part of Citigroup. So he had, some pretty interesting stories, with some of the big moguls of that day, Sandy Weil and Jamie Dimon and these names that, anybody would know. But very humble, never forgot his roots, where he came from, which was Wayland, Massachusetts. And, just a sweetheart of a guy.
So he was still working when you knew him, or was he retired?
No, he was retired. He was retired. But, given that I was trying to kind of chart my path and my career, it was something that I was constantly trying to kind of pepper people with. Hey, what about this? What do you think about this company? And those types of things. And, he was impressed with, my first job was at Lehman Brothers, which was an investment bank. And, he thought that was pretty cool. But, the one thing that he didn't see in his lifetime was that the company actually went bankrupt in 2008.
Yeah. I remember that.
During the financial crisis. So, he was a great guy. And, I think this event is a wonderful way to carry the memory on.
Can you give me an example? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
Give me an example of something that he talked to you about, maybe a conversation you had or something like that sort of sticks with you. You mentioned that you still think about things he's told you. Is anything that you think good to share?
I mean, the one of them was, he said to me, right, because he ran the books, right? He was an accountant by trade. He said, Hinkle, he goes, no company can justify having a plane. He's like, I don't care who they are, how big of a company it is. He's like, the line item expense, he's like, you just can't justify it. And I always sort of think about that when you think about, some of these companies and, whether they're, they've got some fat that you can trim and things like that. And, listen, you got to move your executives around, but I always remember him saying that. And the other one is we were at Lake Winnipesaukee, probably his last summer.
Okay.
One of his wish list was to rent a big house on Lake Winnipesaukee. It was a place that he had gone to for, a substantial part of his childhood growing up and with the family during the early days. So we rented a big house there, and I was cooking steaks one night, and, Kate's brothers were there one night, and they, I forget how I cooked it. I sliced it, and I put the garlic inside, and I cooked it. And Ron was like, out of this world, off the charts, right? And he's like, I'm not going to take credit for telling you that, I gave you the recipe for that. But he's like, my sons, they could never do this kind of work. And so it led to this joke that we have going on about getting hinkled, right? Whereas her brothers always say, just when you think you've done something well, Hinkle shows up and you get hinkled, right? And he does it 10 times better than you. And that steak,
love it.
That steak story always sticks in my head because her brother Mark was there and he always brings that one up. So those are two stories that I would say off the top of my head.
Sounds like once you're in that circle, I mean, you're part of the family. There's they're not, I mean,
absolutely.
100% in.
Absolutely.
I think that's a wonderful trait to have.
Yeah.
Somebody has that. It's Hinkle. So tell me about that. How did that? Do you remember the story? Because you said your mom gave you that nickname.
No, it was my mom. It was actually so I went to boarding school in New Hampshire, place called Holderness, and it's 9 through 12, so a bunch of boys sitting around a dorm, and it, you can imagine what happens. But my brother was there. He was a junior when I was a freshman, and he actually got the nickname first. And it was there. I wish there was a better story, but it was like, hey, what's your last name? Hinman, hey, Hinkle, and everybody laughed, and he was Hinkle. So when I showed up, it was Big Hinkle and Little Hinkle. He graduated. I dropped the little, so I was just Hinkle. But then I went to college with a couple buddies from prep school, and they followed me, and so did the name. And then I met my wife, Kate, at college, and so then she knew me as Hinkle from the beginning. And it's just followed me to the point where my own kids actually will call me Hinkle. And I say to them sometimes, I'm like, there's only two people in this world that can call me Dad, and that's you guys, and you choose to call me Hinkle from time to time. So, I think throughout most of my life, I've always had nicknames. I guess I'm just not a Chris, right? So,
it fits.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It could be worse, right? I know that some of the nicknames we gave people growing up were much worse. So
yeah, and they don't last. Some of them don't last. They go through maybe college, and after that, you get professional or whatever.
Yeah.
But so what at work? They call you Hinkle at work?
No, not at work. The one that I can't escape from work is Chinman, because a lot of email addresses, right, is first initial, right, Chris C, last name Hinman, so it's always Chinman at whatever. So then there's a bunch of derivatives that come off of that, but that's been one that has been hard to kick as well.
That's a good one.
It's not bad.
Nice. So what do you think of this year's event so far? I know you just got here. Seems like it's they come in, there's photographers, there's people getting their, what do you call them? Those mint juleps?
Yeah, mint juleps.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, listen, I think this event seems to up its game every year.
Yeah.
I think that coming to the Polo Grounds was a big milestone, at least for all of us legacy veterans, because it was the point in which we sort of went from the laborers to like showing up as guests, right? Because at this point, and I'm going to get it wrong, but maybe we're 10 years in by the time we moved here. And at that point, we had much more of a well-oiled machine, right, where there was less of that last minute, run into Home Depot or run into the nursery, or we forgot this at the house, right? And we've got professional vendors, and so I've loved having it here. And each year, they've found ways to make it better. And I think that having the inside here and not having to worry about the weather takes a lot of stress off of the event. And also the setup and cleanup.
Yeah.
This is an event hall. This is what they're used to doing here. And so people love it, right? And it's a beautiful spot. It's still got the horse theme, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And and this time of year in Connecticut, you can't beat it, right?
This weather's, a little windy, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's warm.
But it's green. You've got flowers, right? It's this is the time of year where, at least if you're from New England, you start to remember why you live here.
That's right.
Right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, because
you question it, like, beginning of February, mid-February, you're like, why?
Yeah, you're like, why? I could live anywhere, right?
But now you're like, okay, this is why.
Yeah, and it's the people, right? I think.
Well, I guess so. Yeah.
If you're from New England, there's a certain type of person that's here. And in terms of this event too, I think that the folks that attend have grown over time. I think that we've been able to attract different groups of people, right? Before it was you were 1 or 2 degrees of separation from the family, but I think now we get folks that that are may have seen the event somewhere, or they're a friend of a friend. So I think we've really shown that that we've got some scale now when you actually don't know everybody that's here, but
I think it's amazing.
Everybody that is here has some connection to pancreatic cancer, and shows up and is happy to be here, and I think is typically a great person. There's not anybody that I've met here that I think falls outside that realm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hinkle, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to call you Hinkle. Hinkle, I'm going to wrap it up, man. Thanks so much.
I feel like
appreciate it.
I feel like we've gotten to that point where you can do that.
Yeah, that was good. Good stuff. Thanks so much for coming. Enjoy the event. Have a great time.
Yeah,
and I'll be in there later. Maybe I'll bump into you.
Yeah. No, I'd like it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. And that's it. That's official now. Now we can start. That's what that's all about.
We didn't start.
Yeah, no. So thank you so much for stopping by at our little table here outside the Ron Foley Foundation Ron's Run for the Roses. Why don't you go ahead, so I don't mess it up. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for us? Tell me what you, well, I'm just going to do it. That's Kate, and this is Jack. Jack, you are Ron's cousin.
That's correct.
You guys are from Philly, and you are one of Barbara's closest, dearest friends.
I hope so.
Yeah. So how did you all, let's start there. How did you all meet? How did you two meet?
How did we meet?
Yes.
I was a client of hers.
Oh, get out. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of years ago.
Okay.
And here we are today.
Oh, that's cool. That's very, very good.
Jack introduced me to his family, and we became fast friends with Ron and Barbara as a couple.
Right.
And the rest is kind of history all these years later.
Oh, that's terrific. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I just had Hinkle. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I asked him, hey, he says, my name's Chris. I said, I'm supposed to have Hinkle. He says, no, that's me. I said, okay.
He's wonderful.
He's a great guy. So we had a really fun conversation.
We're all the in-laws people.
Yeah. No, it's fun. Barbara's wonderful. I've known her for a little while, and this is such a
great lady.
great time. Yeah. So the one thing I don't have, and Chris or Hinkle didn't know Ron all that long before he passed.
Right.
So I was trying to get, because I've never met Ron. I only met Barbara maybe, I don't even think it's been 10 years.
Sure.
So you're Ron's cousin. So can you tell us a little bit about how he was? You guys grow. I don't know how much time you spent together, probably family functions and things like that. Anything you can tell us about Ron?
We had a lot of fun together. Ron had a beautiful 61 Viking that we took up and down the coast. We had it over at in Bermuda. Ron and I didn't go to Bermuda. We flew to Bermuda and then went fishing in Bermuda, and then we had such a great time. Caught a really large marling. That fish was almost as big as the boat. I know it was a 18-footer. That thing was huge. So let it go. Yeah. There's no way we could get it in the boat.
Yeah. Sink the boat. Yeah.
That's a great memory. But you grew up with Ron, literally across the street from each other.
Oh, get out. Okay.
Yeah.
When they were boys.
Yeah. Up in the Boston, outside Boston?
In Watertown.
Watertown. Okay.
Outside of Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with.
Yeah. It's right next to Cambridge.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. All right. Very nice. Yeah. Okay.
But I moved out of that area when I was young. Basically grew up in South Jersey. My businesses were in the city. Kate was our public relations person that handled all of I own McDonald's restaurants.
Oh, cool.
So Kate handled all the public relations for us in our region. So
okay.
So Ron was a bigger than life character, though. He had a heart the size of the state of Connecticut and was such a warm and caring person about so many people. Right. And he was overly generous. I mean, he was just that guy that just wanted everybody to have a good time, feel good, and he wanted you to feel like today's a good day, and I'm going to help make that happen. Right. And he was that person all the time.
Well, that's all I hear is that story.
Yeah, he was really wonderful. And
his favorite saying was "Go big or go home."
I love it.
Used it all the time,
and he lived it.
He did live it.
He lived that way.
He did live it.
Yeah,
and he did live it.
He was particularly good with young people. He loved all the young guys, like his own children, of course, but his own children's friends. And watching that and the dynamic with them was always really pretty special. And Barbara, too, that together they would be like everybody's parents in addition to their own parents.
Yeah.
So
there's the entertainment house.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah.
A lot of fun all the time.
Right.
And, bringing joy to other people and it
was a second home
from people knew.
Okay.
Yeah. So
were you I'm assuming you were at the first
we were
event at Barbara's backyard?
We were at the first event in her backyard. Yeah. And she just had this idea and she said, I'm going to start this. And then she gathered a bunch of friends and neighbors and they all just volunteered, and together they worked super hard to help her figure this out. And we've watched it grow and evolve over all the years. It's been pretty spectacular, the amount of development that's happened. And now that they're this thriving nonprofit.
It's incredible.
We've never missed one.
Yeah. Did she start it with the notion involved of creating a nonprofit, or she just want to have an event for Ron's memory? Sort of what was the...
It was to raise money for pancreatic cancer.
It was, okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it just started as an event to raise money. And
Exactly.
So the event started first, and then the Ron Foley Foundation sort of followed. Is that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure, but I think the original idea was to raise money for research. And then as it started to come together very quickly, they started to understand what families really needed because they had been through it themselves. And so there's sort of the two pieces of this,
Right.
The part that is really for research. And then there's the funds that they distribute to families in need through Ron's Rescue. And I think both are really important. And I think the fact that they're balanced in their view and understanding of how pancreatic cancer really hits families is really important. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that they were able to think about that and really focus on individual needs. So many organizations really only focus on research. And this part, I think, is really an important piece of it, too.
So
Amazing, the growth.
So was the funds that was initially raised, was that for research or was that for to give to families? Do you remember?
I think I'm actually not sure, but I think it was originally for research.
Right.
And because there was already an established pancreatic cancer foundation or group, several of them. And I think Barbara then started to get in touch with the hospitals and started working with doctors. The outreach and the communication that she's had with really world-renowned specialists has been pretty extraordinary. So she has learned so much about the disease and how it impacts families that she just keeps building the foundation to be supportive of where the greatest needs are.
Yeah. Yeah, because you think about research, which is important, but I think that the families have needs.
Right.
Whatever those needs are, mostly financial, whether it be just living expenses or maybe medical expenses. Is there a separate fund for medical or living, or is it just, how do people go about requesting? How does that all work?
I think there's an application. I think they can turn it really fast within a week or 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And they just need to have some information from the patient's doctor, and they file it. And then as soon as they review it and they know that it's all in good order, the paperwork, they get a check off to them, and it just depends. Sometimes it's for a special last wish or a trip with a family member.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes it's for immediate needs at the home to help carry expenses. So it just depends on the individual person and what they need.
Do you know how much that kind of money the foundation has distributed?
I actually don't know the number.
Okay, just want to...
I should have looked at my...
yeah.
Should look at your notes.
Yeah.
I didn't make any notes.
No, that's fine. That's all right. I think that's really important. Yeah, I put together a couple of videos for this event, and some of the people on there were just so grateful that they have this disease and they just need it, and they reached out, and the Ron Foley Foundation was able to help them out financially to get through some tough times. I think that's amazing. Yeah, I think that's really, really good. I love it. How's the event so far? I know you just got here, but how's as shaping up to be one of the best ones yet? I bet.
It's always great. I've never been to a bad one.
Yeah.
Actually, I like this facility much better than it was before, which was also still a good facility, but this one just plays easy. Yeah. It's easy to move around here.
Yeah.
Even with the wind blowing.
Even with the wind blowing, a little windy. But then because you got this, we're outside now, and there's patio.
Yeah, exactly. You got both.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's really, really good.
The volunteer group that keeps putting this together every year, there's a very small paid staff, but the volunteer group that helps make all this come together is pretty exceptional.
Right.
And the fact that so many of these people have been with this in the very beginning is surprising. To see that longevity, commitment from the volunteers is pretty special, I think. So that just is a tribute, I think, to what this has become, and also to Barbara and her leadership.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and she's genuinely thankful and appreciative and just humble by it's really...
She's an amazing lady.
Yeah, she really, really is. Yeah, and I wish I knew Ron, because every time I hear people talk about him.
He's extraordinary, yeah.
Yeah.
Good buddy.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it.
Yeah,
like it.
he sure was.
Yeah.
Listen, is there anything else you'd like to chat to me about? Anything you think people should know, whether what you know about pancreatic cancer or how people can help people that might be in need, that need some?
Well, support organizations like this one for sure.
Yeah, just being here today
Yeah.
is a big help, and participating and putting bids in on various items to raise money is all the right thing to do.
Perfect. Well, guys, Jack, Kate, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you. Enjoy the rest. And maybe did you put some money in for the silent auction? Did you put any money in for the silent auction over there yet, or
Not yet.
Not yet.
We will, though.
You got your eye on anything yet, or you didn't look yet?
I'm not a silent auction person.
Okay.
but
So the big money is raised later in the
Got you.
radio event, and we'll certainly
we'll
participate in that.
participate.
Sounds good to me.
So,
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you. Thanks so much. But yeah, so this weather, it's funny, I got here and it was like that. It was beautiful. And then just 15 minutes ago, I was like, yeah, you know what? No, I don't see. It's not going to get cloudy. It's going to be fine.
All
of a sudden.
yeah, the line's coming in, so it's gonna pour, lightning, some wind. A little worried about the items out there. We told them getting ready. But how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm doing really
Good.
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 Yeah.
Good. Good.
You been good?
I'm great. Yeah,
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
good. Just
Yeah.
every time you turn around, there's something else going on, and you probably know about my family member we lost.
No.
Yeah, we had my wife's cousin, 46 years old. She had pancreatitis, and it was in the summer about 5 years ago. And she was going through the summer, and my wife's like, you know what, something's not right. And so they went back, and pancreatic cancer. In less than a year, she was gone.
Sorry.
And we just had the wedding for her daughter just last month down in Florida. And so this is probably going back about 4 or 5 months ago. My best friend, we grew up together. I was his best man at his wedding 41 years ago. Right now, he's a doctor. He's a chief operating officer for Newfoundland Medical here in Connecticut, New York.
Yeah.
He has pancreatic cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And so he's been through radiation and chemo then radiation. Now he's going to have an operation. But, he's Iron Man, great shape.
Yeah.
They found a little something on his pancreas, and then all of a sudden in 3 months it was huge. And so pancreatic cancer is just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, things happen where, you get little ideas that something might be, but you never think much of it. And then by the time you find it, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So hopefully he found his in time. But I just feel like many more people are getting pancreatic cancer these days, and we keep fighting. But it's we gotta do more.
Yeah.
We gotta do more.
My wife's stepmom last year texted me in March. She said, I want you to hear from me first. I have pancreatic cancer stage 3, I think. And I think 2 months. I think it was 2 months later.
2 months. That's it.
I think it was like 2
How
months.
old?
Mid-70s, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mid-70s. I mean, yoga teacher, organic food. I mean, healthy, low stress.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, one of the healthiest people I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a wonderful woman. Yeah.
My friend being a doctor, he's trying to explain to me about mutations and how things can happen and whatnot. And it's like, okay, it's just, I don't know. It's scary, scary stuff. But
really
doing
so
something like
scary.
this, Ron Foley Foundation, taking what happened to Barbara and making it into this unbelievable event, raises money and, finding out what the researchers are doing, and hopefully, we're going to be able to do something about this.
Yeah, and I was talking to Jack and Kate, and not only is it raising money for research, it's raising money to help families that are suffering through this.
And that's
which is
what,
huge.
when we, Debbie Laffin, my wife's cousin, she was the first recipient of Ron's Rescue. And so when that first came out, my wife, Tracy, who works at Channel 3.
Yeah, I know Tracy.
Of course you know Tracy.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
How's she doing?
She's doing great.
Good,
She's doing
good.
good. Yeah. So, all of us in this business,
Yeah.
all know each other.
Yeah.
And she had gotten to know Barbara somehow, probably through, work, probably had her in on the show or something. But anyhow, they supplied Debbie and her 2 daughters the ability to go to Disney World. And they were there in, I want to say it was maybe May, and she was gone in October.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
But they got to have that
great.
one last
I
special
love it.
thing. So helping the family.
It's important.
Because it happens to a person, but it's what it does to the whole family.
The whole,
is just,
it affects the whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A huge way.
Yeah.
So,
no, absolutely.
no.
Listen, how many years have you been doing this? And we got to wrap because I just heard some thunder.
Yeah, thunder.
So
we got to get out of here. I've been doing this now probably a solid 10 years, maybe.
It's been that long.
Yeah. So
how long you known Barbara?
Known Barbara for probably going on 8, 9, 10 years. Yeah. So it's quite a while. So
right on.
So quite wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful organization. And we just have to get. We got to get rid of this stuff.
And she keeps. I mean, she just every year she keeps chugging along.
All year, doing it
every day. She's working what she can do to make people's lives a little bit better.
Right,
which is amazing.
And it's not for all the great people that come to an event like this, and money that is raised through other organizations and the big walks. I was at the Pan Can Walk out in Rhode Island last weekend. We can't stop. So
is she involved with other organizations? I'm sure she is. I know she's involved with another nonprofit out of Hartford, but they don't do cancer stuff. But is she involved with other cancer research, pancreatic cancer research, nonprofit groups?
She goes. Like that? I mean, as far as the different doctors and so forth, and she is.
Yeah.
So
right
it's just we're continuing to fight. And you just don't know from day to day. That's the whole thing. When I see my friend. One day, fine. The next day, he's got this. You just don't know.
Yeah,
so
you just don't know.
Yeah. So,
is there anything you can tell us that's going to be exciting, maybe different that you're doing for the first time this year that you haven't done in past years? Anything like that?
We got a $100 raffle ticket for a bottle of bourbon that's worth like $1,000. We got a great necklace for $2,200 from Monarch Jewelers. We got some wonderful live auction items, which is always great. And then speakers, hearing the stories, compelling stories about what people have been through, and then hearing from the doctors about what's happening and what we're doing to get rid of this awful thing.
It affects everybody. It's just about anybody you talk to.
So
somewhere has a relationship with it.
But now for me it just keeps hitting too much. So we need to fight. Perfect. Keep fighting.
Yep, keep fighting. Right. Joe, you get back to work. We're gonna
thanks, man. All right. Pleasure to see you.
Good seeing you.
You're great.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Thanks so much.
You. All right, and now let's pack up and get out of here.
Get out of here. We'll see you, Joe.
We gotta go. All right. Get under the table.
We'll see you, Joe.